Mm. Hey, it's Slutsville here. Just kidding. Obviously not. Um, anyway, so let's talk about art and its interpretations and its context. So, let's have a look at different ways that art can be interpreted. Art is a type of something that is representational or symbolic, not actual, as well as something that is easily interpreted differently by different audience members, by different times in the artist's or author's life. So one day they'll look at it that way, and then a few years later they'll pick up a story they wrote or a painting they wrote. Oh, I didn't notice that before, even though they put it in there. And how that contributes to different codes, and how it might be the case that the esoteric could, in some instances, interact with art in such a manner that would potentially be helpful or atrocious, depending on the context and truth of the matter and whatever else. So the interpretation, the symbolism and whatever, and the actual are likely not the same thing. However, let's give it a go anyway. So let's start with a book that this physical body wrote in the year 2009 and published on Scribd.com in the year 2011. Okay? It's called The Official Cult of the Divine Goddess of Insurrection, Auntie Frida Astaire, Almighty Mistress of Bullshit. If you have a look at it, you'll see straight away that it's clearly labelled as bullshit on the front. It has a picture of a moon with looks like some from a back view of someone bending over. You know, kneel down at the pew and show everyone your backside. If you speak Strine or one of the Anglophone slang languages, you'll know that a moon means a bum. And so, when it comes to that, the interpretation of that text, as it turns out, was apprised of some rather strange interpretations, and had to clarify with those individuals what the author meant, and why their interpretation was significantly off. So sometimes the audience is interpreting the artwork through such an askew lens that it couldn't be further from the truth. Another time, it's closer to the truth. So let's talk about the truth of that book. So if you want to read it, go right ahead. It's probably still free to view. You can't download it, but you can read it. It's 25 pages long of absolute rubbish. Anyway, so this is going to divulge something a little bit private to explain it. Okay. One of the references in the book is to the Roid. The Roid features as a thematic topic. And the 10 Holy Commandments, holy spelt with an E, of which there's 15, refer to things such as a little plastic tube attached to the monitor, being attached to a monitor, and adherents loudly proclaiming AGB during proceedings. So holy days are observed on a moon day, okay? So that play on words, if you're familiar with proctology, and the phrase AGB refers to, before you go to the proctologist on a Monday, get drunk the night before, and so you're about to do an after grog bog. Grog being Australian slang for alcohol, and so it's very crude. So the book has lots of stuff in it, but there's this central sort of theme that runs through it about this idea of the roid. Now, roid is short for hemorrhoid. Okay, so there are the titular character called the goddess, Auntie Freda is spelled auntie as in aunt, okay? But if you know the actual background of how that story was written, it makes more sense. So here's the background of how that story was written. So unsurprisingly, around in 2008, 2009, a hemorrhoid descended. Okay, and this is the private part. And so a visit to the general practitioner occurred, and the general practitioner has said, okay, go to the physical body, said, you're going to have to go to a proctologist, and what the proctologist will do is they'll get a little plastic tube attached to a monitor and put it up your bumhole, and then what they will do is they will get a little rubber band and ligand it. Okay, they get a little rubber band and ligand it, like so, and they will slough it off like that, and slough it off like that. And the general practitioner who did that was so vivid. With the fact, just slough it off, just slough it off with a little rubber band and ligand it. And it's like, okay. So the response was, no thanks. Yeah, you're not sticking anything up there. And a cream, of course, was given, unsurprisingly called Anus Hole. Okay, the marketing departments of whoever does butthole cream in Australia are quite funny because the brand's called Anus Hole, right? Okay, so if you're a sort of an artistic character who does wordplay, or in a story, you might do wordplay in a story, being given anus hole cream, okay, is pretty funny, okay? Like, it's pretty funny, okay? And it sort of lightens the burden of the pain of having, when someone gets a hemorrhoid, there's blood, so it's you know, they think they're dying, like, they think their guts are falling out sometimes, and so it's not really, that's, hemorrhoids are, you know, it's not actually the case, they're not actually dying, but it's not fun. And then, of course, you have to get the anus. You don't really want this as a description, but it's kind of important. You have to get the anus hole cream right on your finger, right? And then you have to do the second degree right of mass, right? Okay, right? Okay. They got some cream for you, although they're not a doctor, right? At the pharmacy, right? Okay. So if you see quotes like that in that book, then that's what it refers to. Somewhat the author had a hemorrhoid at the time and was required to put anus hole cream and do the second degree right mass. Okay. The other references there is the word auntie. Okay, doesn't refer to a woman though. This is where it gets, which is probably going to this is what confused the people, because someone actually thought it was about Pizzagate of all things. Anyway, Pizzagate didn't happen for another 5 or 6 years, and the author had no connection to those stories anyway. So yeah, that's it. Explain to you. Okay, we'll explain to you why. Okay, so Auntie from outer space. Hey, Auntie from outer space. The roid is with the busted out wrestle amongst Rector, and busted is the fruit of thy womb, zombie Jesus. Right? Okay, that's a quote from that book. Okay. Why is Auntie from outer space? Well, it was enunciated correctly then. Auntie. Okay, the reason for that is because that book contains a lot of parodies. If you're familiar with parody religions, you'll notice it refers to things like the Pastafarians, the Church of the Subgenius, and the Discordians, among other things. It's subdivided into 2 sections, fallacious meditations and new fallacious meditations, although named in French because it sounds fancy. And so basically, why is there the outer space thing? Well, in Pastafarianism, the flying spaghetti monster is from outer space, apparently. But there's that. There's also the references to gay scene culture. And so the author, as in this physical body at the time, was part of the gay scene, was a fag hag. and was hanging around drag queens and gay men more generally, and was also involved in protests against the Pope. And so at a protest against the Pope, a couple of years before that was written, there was a man at the protest who was wearing this bizarre pink sort of plastic garbage bag with the eyes cut out and almond-shaped eyes as an alien from outer space. And he was a drag queen, and he was going, darling, right? And he said he was the Raelian alien goddess, as in Raelianism, as in a UFO cult from France in the 1960s with the hippies and all that. Apparently they believe that the creator is a female alien from outer space. And so he's dressed up as that by wearing pink plastic bags. And so that was kind of amusing to see. So a man's drag queen costume being a Raelian character was something different. And so that inspired the author, as in this physical body, to tell a story about isn't he from outer space? So as you might suspect, there are a lot of stereotypes about drag queens and gay men more generally. First of all, there are at least there were. Since then, the queer rights movement has flourished, and with the exception of some quarters that are rearing their ugly heads every now and then, and still in some cases propagating myths. By and large, people have come to accept that they really are grown adults in private. It's not your business, so shut the fuck up, which is in fact the correct position. So one of the things the queer community used to cop back in the 60s, 70s, things that led up to the Stonewall riots and stuff like that, which were in Haight-Ashbury, but there was also a similar event in Sydney, which led to the Mardi Gras, was the slurs they used to cop was things like that they were women, and also that they were PEDOs, and we don't mean Mr. Musk's pedestrian, although they definitely were pedestrians, even in stilettos. Anyway, so it wasn't necessarily customary for gay men to dress in drag throughout history. The drag queen movement might have and appears to have flourished as a consequence of sometime in the 1970s, some guys have gone, oh, really? Do you think two guys with beards and hairy chests really are girls? Are you sure about that? Okay, girls, let's go, darling. Right. Okay, we're totally girls, okay? Okay, darling, we're totally girls, okay? All right, then. We'll put our stilettos and we'll put on more makeup than the girls, darling. Okay? Oh, darling. Oh, let's go with the girls. Right? Okay, so it was a bit of sarcasm. Okay? Bit of sarcasm, throwing it right in their faces. Oh, well, the girls, are they? We'll show you what girls can do then, right? And so, as a consequence of completely and utterly, taken way out of context, gender role stereotypes for women through excessive use of makeup, out of context with beards and stilettos, and really going to town on it, okay, and out deeper in the divas, okay, they completely parodied it. So for some women, that might be seen as misogyny against women because that looks like it's making fun of women. Historically, though, the actual context of the drag queen's cultural origin is making fun of people who were calling them women. Saying, well, you think that's, I wish say what a woman is then, because none of the women act like that. Okay, that is excessive. It is way beyond a joke. It is completely out there. And so the that particular type of idea. So auntie, isn't he? Okay, so at that point you can acknowledge the goddess is a dude. Okay, there's no female in it. It's a dude. Okay, and so different cultural topics are explored. So there's a passage in there that refers to Darling and Hertz Road. So if you're familiar with the Sydney scene culture, you would know that is a slang term or lingo from the area that refers to Darlinghurst Road, okay, which is queer central historically, and a joke that is made in the scene culture is it's called Darling at Hertz Road, ha ha ha, so there's a few references like that, and so the one of the ideas being generated through it is that different stereotypes about gay people are brought up, and usually contextualized as that's what they are. There's some kind of reaction to things that are considered untoward, and the priest is blamed, right? Okay, so they don't. It's trying to show the stereotypes for what they were stereotypes. Okay, it's trying. The book could be considered a very strong attempt to use parody religions to parody religion more generally, as well as parody religions, and parody drag queen culture as a means to show drag queen culture for what it is, in such a manner that it parodies the idea of Venus of Willendorf goddess, or the Aphrodite concept, so that you can see that those so-called goddess figurines that are supposed to be representative of womanhood or great womanhood are not. They're actually parodies of womanhood. So the goddess characters in history aren't really what women are like at all. They're parodies of women. And so why not have a drag queen play one? Is a way of looking at that. So someone got confused. Someone turned out Reddit, which is kind of amazing. And they've come and they've said, it sounds like Pizzagate. And the reason why they said that is because there is references to ravers going to the island of pizza, as well as the phrase "go now and lust," go now in pizza to lust and spread the glove. Okay, which is a direct parody of a Catholic mass phrase, which is "go now in peace to love and serve the Lord." So go now in pizza, ha ha ha, to lust, ha ha ha, and spread the glove because you go to the proctologist. Okay, so because there's no things, there's no great things better than in sea culture's life than eating lots of pizza, having hot boyfriends, and sticking it up your ass. Anyway, and so for that reason, religion's a pain. So the main theme main take-home message from that is that religion's a pain in the ass. It's even more of a pain in the ass than a hemorrhoid or actually taking it up the butt. So religion is a pain in the ass. Is the main take-home message is religion is a pain in the ass. So back to religion as a sort of cultural theme more generally. So that book leads into a more generic discussion about symbolism and representationalism, and religion is full of that. The Bible is a very great example of the twisted logic that people get into to try and explain away direct quotes. Um, some direct quotes, if not lots, from the Christian Bible are insane, creepy, morally abhorrent, downright sexist, and violent. It's hard to ignore that. Maybe parrying it as a fallacious meditation is kind of accurate. Um, and you know so that being said, though, what people take out of a story and what they put into it's not the same. If someone sees that the symbol pizza is in a story, and because they've heard of it, say 10 years after whatever that Pizzagate crap was, they then turn around and think that it's about Hillary Clinton or something. And it's like, well, that's not the case at all. The book was authored, had to look into even find out what Pizzagate was, which it turns out Pizzagate happened years after that book was written, had nothing to do with it, obviously, and was some kind of weird. That was a 4chan or something, because come up with some weird idea that some place called Comet Ping Pong, which is a pizza house, had a basement in it where they were doing unspeakable and unholy thing, just unspeakable yuckiness, creepy Royal Commission type stuff. The kind that drag queens would take their stilettos off for just to flog people for, because that's what a drag queen would probably do. Don't forget a drag queen is sometimes a man who's 6'6", and his chest hair coming out here, okay? And sometimes he's a lumberjack and he's okay as well, and he'd take off his stilettos and he'd beat the fucking snot out of a prick like that. So don't you forget that part. Anyway, and apparently Hillary Clinton was part of it because she wanted to go there for cheese pizza. And this is really that is a really strange idea because come with ping pong, someone apparently when they had a look at the actual facility, and there is no basement. Also, without being rude, a basic like sort of criminological analysis might suggest that if you're going to do a clandestine operation that involves nefarious activities, you probably wouldn't do it in an easily accessible place that is likely to have hundreds, if not thousands, of visitors a week, is in the open, and is likely to be distracted by the smell of fried salami and melted cheese. You'd probably do it at one of the mansions. So if you're talking about those, like the idea of psycho rich people doing creepy things, they have plenty of properties to do them on. They don't need to be borrowing someone's pizza house. The entire idea sounds fucking stupid to start off with, and turns out it was, because they actually had a look, and guess what? They had no basement. Wow. So that on its own silly, but sometimes I said, no, that's so about pizza. How's it about Pizzagate? Is it because a raver goes to the island of pizza? So let's look about wordplay for a second. And this has to be explained to that person. The island of pizza, okay, is look at the context and the time the story was written to understand it, okay? So with understanding art and stuff like that, you have to look at the context that it was written as well, and the time period and the historicity of it as well. So in that story's case, okay, rave music and club music involved in that time and era. Songs like, we're going to a party, we're going to Ibiza, because Ibiza was the place where raves happened, right? It's an island off the coast of Spain. But Australian ears were hearing it as, we're going to a party, we're going to eat pizza. Okay? So instead of the raver in the story going to the island of Ibiza, they go to the island of pizza. And of course, they pull out the dildo of reconnaissance and to perform the second degree right of my ass. are promptly transported onto the toilet zone. Okay? Why? Because it's smut. Okay? It's smut. Okay? It's smut and it's rude. Okay? And it's about butt jokes and lots of them. And it's intended to sort of like sore backside. The entire theme is the anxiety of sore backsides. Okay, the author had a hemorrhoid sticking out of their butt and it was hurting them, and they were typing it with a little bit of anusol cream on their bloody finger, and then they were going to gay nightclubs with their drag queen friends, and up Darling and Hertz Road. So you might want to take that in consideration. And yeah, sometimes the club, we're going to a party, we're going to eat pizza, right? Okay. That type of thing has got nothing to do with Hillary Clinton. Okay, and so like it just doesn't. Okay, okay. So you just rule that one right out. So if you do choose to read that, which I honestly hope you don't, because your head will fucking spin. Although you'll probably laugh if you're familiar with some of the history of vaguely history of some of the Nordic religions. Okay, so Nordic paganism or whatever. Okay, they were 10, 15 years ago. They weren't saying that the point of origin involves dragons emitting light and sound. But there was a video on YouTube published in the last year or so where they were, and it was the most uncanny thing, because in that book, there is a quote where the goddess refers to the corn kernels. The corn kernels pop to make popcorn, which is a symbolic reference to the Big Bang. And after the Big Bang, the dragons of light and sound are created, which is like, because every fake holy text has to have a creation epic in it. So somehow, maybe it was the blue crystal grid. We don't know, because one of the perceptions has been hooking up to Project Bluebeam of all bloody things. Okay, you're going to go crazy, do it properly, okay? Well, after that, then there's this weird thing where these Nordic people are publishing videos on YouTube quoting the book. And it's like, oh, darlings, okay? Oh, darlings, that's not what the Nordic religion was saying 15 years ago. And so, we sincerely hope that you understand what a joke is. Okay? Please start getting jokes, because that's what the Bible really fucking is, and so is all you goddamn cults, including your stupid Ragnarok crap. Toodaloo, sweeties!